Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Great to have everyone here. Looking forward to this one. This is going to be a lot of fun because we're almost officially completed day 89, and we got a lot to talk about. So while everyone's piling in here, I'm just going to quickly put on a tune, like half a tune, let people pile in. And before we get to the end of the tune, make sure that if you're in here, share this out with like a repost or a quote repost. Tag a friend if you want. Send this to someone and let people know that the Age of TORUS and the Age of UNITY are kicking ass and taking names. And when we get back from this song in about a couple minutes here, we're going to dig in to the day 89 madness that wasn't so mad, but was pretty interesting. So let's do it. And please get this out there. By the way, one day I will get another song, but this is going to have to do. By the way, I'm not sure. Can you guys actually hear this? Or am I just holding the speaker up to my microphone for no reason? Give me some kind of a signal or something. Thumbs down if you can't hear, thumbs up if you can. Oh my God, this is awkward silence the whole time I'm sitting here playing this thing. Okay. All right. That's hilarious. So every time we've started this, I've literally been putting this up to the microphone as if it's it's playing a song you guys have to suffer in silence, and no one told me. Oh my God, that is way too funny. I'm so sorry. Okay, okay. Well, enough of that then. That's so fun. I can't believe that. You guys, what the hell? Okay. Well, good tried. I'll figure that out someday. Let's get into it. Hope everyone's having a good day. Oh, I can't believe that. It's been 89 days and no one has said a word. Okay, let's get into it. Repost this, guys. Quote repost, just repost it. Let's get into it. Day 89 is done. We're going to be mostly focusing on TORUS in this space. We are going to talk about Unity a little bit, but we're going to mostly be focusing on TORUS because there's a lot to talk about. A lot has been changing. A lot has been happening. And from all the way from the buy and build being turned up to now being over 2.6 million tokens. It's just a ton happening. And even to people, or even watching people's understanding of the staking fees, we still gotta hit home on exactly what's happening here. And I've seen a lot of people that have been talking about, the staking fees being high, and we are going to talk about that as well. So first things first, let's go look at what's happening with TORUS. Currently, it is sitting at just over 8 cents, or basically bang on at 8 cents, and it bounced yesterday from the lows of around 6, 8, mid sixes, high sixes, in terms of its value. Now the question is why? Well, that's because the buy and build has been turned up from 1% to 5%. So this means the buy and build has been turned up 5x. So instead of spending, I don't know, I think it was like $1,800, $200,000 a day, now it's closer to about 9 that it's going to be spending between the two buy and builds. So, and for the record, the buy and builds have the ability. So there's 4 contracts. There is not 2. There's not the buy and build and the buy and burn. There's actually the ETH buy and burn, the Titan X buy and burn, the ETH buy and build, and the Titan X buy and build. This means each of those 4 can have the individual percentages set differently. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit more in depth about the buy and burn and the buy and build, or the buy and build specifically in a bit here. But I want to start with focusing on some stats. Okay. So TORUS is up to 8 cents, and the liquidity is currently sitting at about $57,000. Market cap is now at about $180,000, which is pretty crazy because that means if we look at the stats, we can see the supply, the liquid supply, has increased now to 1.697 million tokens. It's crazy how fast the supply is inflating. It's 2.62 million TORUS is now in supply. We have 582,305 TORUS that's staked, and we have 339,000 TORUS that has been burned. And something that is definitely noteworthy, like you guys really I want everyone to pay attention to this. This is one of the most significant things that's been happening just quietly in the background. So since we went into our, we'll call it staking mode, where the price dipped below that 10 million to 1 ratio and staking became the predominant action in terms of ROI, the Titanx burned has gone up around 24 billion quietly in the background over the last number of weeks. And it has been rocketing over the last week or so, up another, I believe it's 12 billion. Now, this is what I've been talking about with staking. Staking is a very quiet and overpowered aspect of TORUS. Even when there's a ton of tokens just sitting there liquid and not being staked, with the amount that have been staked, so only 582,000, we've seen another 20 some odd billion Titanx be burnt during that time. So as more supply comes out, as the supply grows and grows and grows and more is staked over this period, we're going to see Titanx continue to be burned in the background, continue to be burned, continue to be burned. And this is one of the most powerful aspects of staking, is how much Titanx and ETH the system is actually pulling in just from staking alone. And even despite us having a massive day of inflation where there's 1.5 million tokens, 1.57, I believe it was, million tokens come out. Hold on one sec, guys. Currently still managing the sniffles, so I'm going to pause every once in a while to not give you guys some interesting noises. But 1.5 million tokens have come out, and most of those tokens have not been staked. And so those are tokens sitting idle that will be staked most likely at some point. And if not, and people are beginning to sell those tokens, well, we have an interesting situation on our hands. So yesterday, and actually for the last while, I've been seeing this notion of people should have just waited. You know, we had even Mr. Audi King in the beginning saying, I'm just going to wait and I'm just going to buy off the market for when this thing goes very, very, very low. And the thing did go very, very, very low. We went from $12 now to 8 cents, you know, or 6.8 cents really. But even despite that, if you were to go to the TORUS.win account here on X, you'll see a post that was talking about the amount of tokens that you can buy on the market versus those who created. Now, the biggest thing I want you all to understand is that thin liquidity serves a major role in protecting those who got in early and making it so that way, if you were in day one creating that, yes, you may be close to break even if you were creating with Titanx. If you're in ETH, you might technically be down because ETH is actually going up. But the reason for the setup is so that if you wanted to buy with 40, 50, 60, 100 billion Titanx and get in, you cannot get the position that you could have had you created on day one. It is impossible. If you want to buy with 100 billion Titanx, you're going to shoot the price up and you're not going to be able to get anything close to what would have been able to get from day one. It is impossible. You cannot get a position that you have now if you created on day one by buying on the market. And you never will be able to. That's the way this system was designed. So people that got in early have a huge advantage, and that same advantage can be given away if people are deciding, well, I'm down, I'm going to sell, or I'm just going to sell for whatever reason. Doesn't matter what the reason is. So people that are selling at these prices are legitimately giving away their positions into the future. And with the buy and build being turned up now, if people are looking to sell into this, fantastic. That's great. Do what you want. You're not going to get your position back. It's the way this is designed. And you're going to give it to the buy and build in the meantime. And then when eventually the buy and burn starts cooking, that opportunity is going to go away. So right now, at these prices, people selling are actually opening up the pool for everybody else. Think about that for a second. Especially, like, it's one thing to sell to get your staking fees. And again, we're going to talk about that in a bit here. But it's another thing to be selling just to sell and get out. Because when you're selling to get out, if the system, meaning the buy and burn and the buy and build, are getting to your tokens, that means those tokens, which are also shares, can never make it back into the system, which means those shares can never dilute everybody else. So the longer that we stay at lower prices, and the more people actually sell, the less diluted the pool can be in the future. It's really important to understand that, because this system was not designed to be a 1 cycle, 2 cycle, like a 1 or 2 trick pony and then be done. It's designed, the staking is designed to be a supply control mechanism. This whole way the price comes down and the staking fees relatively in US dollars go up, there's less tokens created. The only supply that's coming out when we are in this zone, ratio-wise or price-wise, is only coming from the Unity or TORUS pools, right? So when this is happening, people that are selling during this period are selling into the control mechanism of TORUS to mitigate supply. And over time, that redistribution is going to go into the hands of people that are not going to sell. It's going to go into the hands of the buy and burn and the buy and build. And eventually, when people have, or the supply distribution has found its way into the hands of people that are no longer willing to sell, well, there's only a few things that can happen. The buy and build, the buy and burn, and the market can move the price up. And eventually, when the liquidity has its foundation, the market wants to move the price upward, people aren't willing to sell, more people are willing to buy than sell. The people that sold their positions are going to be physically unable to get anywhere near the position that they had initially, and they're going to have to pay significantly more if they ever want to get it. So we're in a very critical point here where we're setting the stage for the future. And at these levels, the reason the buy and build was turned up, and I want to be open with you guys here too, because it's not supposed to be some secret sorcery of like, you guys are going to figure it out and I'm not going to tell you anything at all. I'm not going to tell you when and where and how things will happen in the future, but I do want to explain the decision making because I want you guys to understand what's going on here. Now, if you go to the white paper, you'll see in the TitanX and ETH distribution section, there was a multi-phase plan. Phase 1, focus on liquidity. Phase 2, buy and burn. Now, we were actually given a gift with these low prices in terms of this setup. I'll explain that because obviously the gift of low prices doesn't sound like so much of a gift, right? But when we take ourselves out of the position of being, a holder and into the position of what's best for the protocol here, the low prices allows the buy and build, whether it's with ETH, specifically, ETH is amazing right now with the buy and build because ETH can buy all-time lows of TitanX and get the most TitanX per ETH, right? 1 second. And so when it can grab TitanX at the lows of both TORUS and TitanX, what happens here is you create this foundation at the base, at the lows of TORUS, and you're scaling the depth of the liquidity at the lows. What happens is as the price goes higher and higher and higher of both TitanX or even just TORUS, what happens is that liquidity scales with the price. So if you put, let's say you have the price at 10 million to 1, you put $200,000 in liquidity, right? Well, you're only adding $200,000, right? But if you add $200,000 of liquidity at low prices, and then the price has to work back up. So let's say that I'll put it in a more concrete example here instead of trying to make this a little bit more vague. Let's say we have $200,000 in total liquidity right now. That means we have $100,000. Because of the way liquidity pools work, you have 50%. And the way that the contract works, you have 50% of your liquidity is in TORUS, 50% of your liquidity is in TitanX. Now, people can do different things and get creative here in many different ways. But for the contract's sake, this is how the contract places its funds into the liquidity pool. So if we have $200,000 in the liquidity pool, right, we are sitting at $100,000 in TORUS, $100,000 in TitanX, now at 8 cents. Now, we know how liquidity pools work. If you double the sell side liquidity, meaning you double the amount of TitanX in the pool, so basically $100,000 in buy pressure comes in, the way liquidity the way liquidity pools work and price action works is that doubling the amount of Titan-X in the pool is going to 4x the price, right? So if we look at the ratio right now from TORUS to Titan-X, or Titan-X to TORUS, I should say, we're sitting at 531,000. So if we were to have, let's say we have $200,000 in total liquidity, we add an extra $100,000 into the liquidity pool. Now we're sitting at just $2 million. But, or sorry, 2 million TORUS to Titan-X as our ratio, or it'll be a little bit more, but roughly around there. So at this point, we've now gone from $200,000 in liquidity. Now we've gone to $400,000 in liquidity. And we're still only at or I guess it's technically 3 million, right? And so what happens is by the time we get back up to this median ratio, we've now, and it's going to take us longer and longer to get there. It's a slower process when we do it like this. But the amount of liquidity that we're going to have at our median ratio is much, much, much deeper than we could ever have by just adding liquidity at the median ratio. And this is a super important concept for people to understand. And it's going to create a foundation for us that is going to allow TORUS to be an absolute monster and to be incredibly stable in any market, allowing the staking and even the creating to often be very usable at all times. And it'll make the staking very viable and very attractive, bringing in more economic energy, more users, and making itself into a blue chip much, much faster. Now, the other thing about making the liquidity super deep at these levels as well is that when Titan-X starts to move, if we have the market that is wanting to buy the price of TORUS, we have the buy and burn sitting there, and we have Titan-X also rising in price. If you have a buy and burn and you have Titan-X is increasing in value and there's arbitrage going on, and we've seen how these leverage plays work with Titan-X, where if Titan-X does, let's say 6%, you might see the leverage play like DragonX, for example, do like 8 or 10%, which means it's gaining on Titan-X in the midst of that move that Titan-X is doing. So it makes it so, this whole scenario, I should say, makes it so when Titan-X is actually ripping, we actually get an advantage of moving ourselves up faster. Even though we have a heavier liquidity pool, we can bring ourselves back up to higher ratios much easier. And if the buy and burn happen to be utilized in the midst of while Titan-X is pumping, then you get crazy fast movement. Now it gets even easier. And simultaneously, while it gets easier for these ratios to move up against Titan-X, the liquidity is also scaling with the value of Titan-X. So even right now, let's say we have $58,000 in liquidity in the pool currently. If Titan-X does a 2x and we don't move in price, that means our liquidity also doubles, right? So if we were to do a whole bunch of math, I'm not going to do this here on the space, but if we were to even go up to this initial example of, let's say we have $200,000 in liquidity now, and we go and do a 4x because of the nature of buy pressure coming in at 100,000, we have $400,000 in liquidity at the current price of Titan-X, with at 3 million to 1 ratio, roughly 3.2 million to 1, which means that if Titan-X were to do a 10x back to roughly around its previous high, we'd see $4 million in liquidity. And that's only if TORUS stayed at 3.12 million. That doesn't include if the market starts chasing TORUS, if the buy and burn starts operating, and the leverage that we get from Titan-X as well. So we could see if the median ratio were to be reached, so around 11 million to 1 currently, and while this is all while Titan-X is pumping, we can see an astronomical amount of liquidity at that point. And we have a whole bull run ahead of us for alts. So there's a whole lot to be considered for why the buy and build is super important to be using right now and to be building this base, even if people use it as exit liquidity. That's fine, because it's just changing the ratios. It is thickening and creating more depth at these levels that will scale higher over time. And that's the big thing to understand. So that's the buy and build. That is why the buy and build is being used right now. And this is going to set us up for the future tremendously well. And I ask that if anyone does have questions about the buy and build, please come on up. I'm more than happy to have you and answer any questions. I'm going to move to staking. And when I'm done with staking and the supply stats, then I will start inviting people up. But if you want to come up and ask anything as well, it can be about TORUS in general, can be about staking fees, can be about anything that's on your mind. And that's fantastic. I would love to have you up here as well. So another thing that I've been seeing, and this, I know I'm going to have to repeat myself. I'm totally fine with that. The staking fees. People have been saying the staking fees are expensive. Now, the staking fees are only expensive if you are using the TORUS or UNITY that you've earned to pay for your staking fees. And you might be thinking, well, what? How does that make sense? And here's why. The amount of TitanX or ETH, for the sake of TORUS, that it costs to stake 10,000 TORUS is the same, regardless if 10,000 TORUS is worth a penny or $1 million. Right? There's a fixed amount per day that increases in fees for the same amount of TORUS that you want to stake every single day. It doesn't matter the value of that TORUS. So if you were going to stake 10,000 TORUS, whether that TORUS was worth $10,000 or $1, you're going to pay the same amount in dry powder. Now, obviously, if you're looking to pay for that out of the TORUS or UNITY that you have created and earned or staked and earned, then yes, that's going to seem tremendously large, because the way that this system is designed is that as TORUS or UNITY comes down in value, the fees in their USD value stay the same. And so instead of it being like around a 5% in USD cost or less, depending on if the price is higher, it can be as much as 100%. And that's if you go to TORUS right now and you go ahead and look at the earn page, go to staking, you're going to see that to stake $76 worth of TORUS, it costs $77. And this is all by design. This is not an accident. This ensures that when people are earning in the system, the amount of economic energy brought in is overpowering the value of what's being earned. And this prevents any sort of a death spiral, any sort of death. It brings in more economic energy the lower the price goes, meaning it helps itself to revitalize itself and reset itself to really stop those who want to sell the price from having as much impact, and while the buy and burn is still being refueled, or the buy and build. And so when it comes to staking, you have two camps that you're going to see, where when people are looking to utilize what they've earned and what they've bought on the market or created or staked and all the earnings there to pay for their staking fees, yes, things are going to seem very expensive. But if you are using dry powder, your money that you've had on the side, and you're not using what you've earned to actually pay for those staking fees, it doesn't matter. It's the same. It's going to seem like it's more, but the price of the TORUS is irrelevant to the staking fee. 10,000 TORUS is going to cost the same amount of TitanX or ETH today, regardless if it's $1 million a TORUS or a penny a TORUS. Doesn't matter. It's going to be the same cost, right? So from that perspective, it's important to understand that staking is not more or less expensive. It's the same for the token amount. The token has a specific cost to stake in TitanX or ETH terms. So I hope that's making sense. I'm happy to go more in depth with that. I think I saw someone that wanted to come up, and I will invite them back up because I don't think it worked. Let me just invite you, my friend. And again, if anyone wants to come up and ask questions as well, please do. And so this is why we're seeing right now a lot of TORUS that is sitting on the sidelines and is not staking. Now, this is an interesting setup because you have people that are sitting on the sidelines that, yes, they could sell. But by waiting and just sitting on the sidelines, it's not such a bad thing. If you are, so many strategies that people can employ, and I'm not going to sit here and talk strategies because I don't want to influence anyone's decisions strategically. Obviously within reason, just getting up here and talking about things is influencing people's strategic understanding of things just by getting more information. But when you're waiting, if you already have a position, let's say you have 50,000 TORUS, 10,000 TORUS, 100,000 TORUS, maybe, you're the big player in the system that's got over 800,000 TORUS. If you're waiting, you have a position in the system. And if you are thinking long-term, what's waiting 20, 30 days? The system only decreases in its payouts by 0.08% per day. And if you have a significant position, you're always going to have that position. So by waiting and allowing the price to come up, and if you are looking to sell and looking to pay for your fees out of pocket, patience is on your side. And if people are waiting for the price to come back up to the median ratio, think about this. We're currently at 538,000 to 1. So basically, we need about a 20x to get back up to that median ratio. Would you be happy alone with a 20x in what you're sitting on right now in value before getting more rewards? Because that's what we're looking at right now from a price action perspective to get us back to that median ratio. And now another thing that I've been seeing people doing and talking about in the chat, which I think is an interesting strategy, is to just DCA into staking. Instead of selling your entire stack or selling half your stack or selling a bunch, if you DCA into your stakes, people seem to be liking that strategy. And that does allow people to have the flexibility of continuing to earn over time without selling a ton as the price comes up. So there's a ton of ways that people can utilize the system to actually make the most of TORUS without having to sell everything or make rash decisions or give up their the position they worked so hard to get and waited 88 days for. So, and especially with so many tokens on the market, I mean, there is no way that at these prices, the people that are coming out now would be able to go back in and stake unless they brought in dry powder. And we'll see what happens. We have 600,000 tokens coming out, just under 600,000 tokens coming out today. We have, let's see here, 248,000 tokens coming out the day after. So we've got couple million tokens, probably another 1.5 million tokens coming out over the next 5 or 6 days. And we will see what happens with the staking, because those who are waiting on the sidelines are also opening up the pool for everyone else that is currently in the pool, which is great for those that are there. But there's a lot of moving parts to this. I'm going to start inviting some people up and getting people to ask some questions if anyone has any. So give me a second here while I fire out some invites. And let's see. See a lot of familiar faces in here. It's great to see everyone. And let's go. I see. Let's go to you. And we'll leave it there for now. If anyone else wants to come up, please do. And in the meantime, while I wait, we're also going to talk about what do I have on my agenda here that I wanted to hit on real quick? Yes. So, or do I even want to talk about that today? No, I'm not going to. Let's transition to Unity for a little bit here. Now, Unity is just quietly chugging along. And if we go look at the Unity price chart, Unity's actually surprised me. Unity has been in a very different animal than TORUS. It came in hot. There's a lot of participation, over $1 million in participation within a few days. And then we saw the price absolutely get crushed a couple days by one user that wanted to sell. And then we saw the price tumble down to $1, which is right around the 50,000 to 1 PulseX to UNITY ratio. But then we've seen this stabilization happen. And this is very similar to what we saw in TORUS around its, where is it here? I think it was around day, it's like up to around the 60th day. And so we're only in day 50 right now for UNITY. And I'm curious to see how people play this, because a lot of people have been looking into really watching TORUS. And I can see in the UNITY chats, people are, really understanding the importance of staking while prices are high. If you're looking to use your UNITY to pay for some of that staking fee. And so I'm wondering how different UNITY will end up being versus TORUS, because right now it's fairly similar, but it's different. And the liquidity is still over $106,000. But the question is, will we see UNITY come down to the lows, like around 10,000 to 1 or even 5,000 to 1, that we are seeing an equivalent value for TORUS? I don't know. But it's just been quietly doing its thing. If we go look at the analytics here for UNITY, we're sitting at about 92,000 supply. So we have a lot of supply to come out still. We are going to see a tremendous amount come in the next 40 days. So this is going to change significantly. The burnt UNITY is still ahead of the stake UNITY, which is fantastic. We're just about at 2 billion PulseX burned, which is at 1.9 billion. And if we go to the dashboard, this is one of the cool things. So even with the amount or the value of PulseX and Pulse having plummeted over the last week or so, we're still sitting at around $1 million in total deposits. And what's great is, even though with the UNITY PulseX burns, right, even though there's been lower and lower participation over the last number of days, we're still seeing like 573,000 PulseX burned, 239,000 PulseX burned, 336,000 PulseX burned per day. And these will add up over time. I mean, think about how long these protocols are designed to work for. 333 or 336,000 PulseX burned a day over the course of 100 days is still 33 million PulseX burned, right? It's small, but it adds up. You think about over months and years into the future, and it adds up quickly. And this is when things are quiet, right? We are leverage for UNITY. We are leverage on PulseX. And when PulseX starts to move, you're going to see UNITY absolutely rip as well. But for the last while, we've been seeing PulseX, have some growing pains price-wise. So there's a lot to look forward to. And if we go to the DApp, let's take a look at the ROIs quickly here. The creation ROI is still 2,100%, which is interesting. The staking ROI, though, is 4,100%. That's huge. And the daily ROI is still over 47%. And I'm curious at what point people really began to transition their understanding and their plays to really go heavy into staking. Because right now, there's a lot of room to earn from that staking side. And, UNITY has been just rock solid. It's been really interesting to see how people have learned from TORUS, or just different participants have really changed the trajectory and the behavior of UNITY itself. So all in all, I am extremely happy with how UNITY has been doing. I am so thrilled now with how TORUS has been doing. And it's going to be really interesting to see, as people get to watch TORUS, how their behavior of what they are now expecting UNITY to do, will impact the way that the market interacts with UNITY. So a lot of exciting stuff happening now. As we've seen, people are expecting a huge market dump on TORUS on day 89. Didn't really happen. The price went down a little bit, but we've already rebounded. We've gone from 6.8 cents to I think we were up almost 50% at one point on the day. And we've had a couple sells. We had a $2,000 sell on TORUS today, but it's always fun to see when people expect one thing and something else happens. So let's see what happens next. You never know, someone might start selling. But for now, I think things are looking fantastic. And this setup is, I could not be happier with it. We have $200,000 in the buy and build for TORUS that is going to be destined for the buy, or for the liquidity contract, for the liquidity pool. And if we go over to Unity, let's go look at what Unity has. Unity still has over $260,000 or $70,000 in its buy and burn, even at these prices. So it's come down. The value of that's come down. But we have 2.39 billion PulseX and 8.76 billion Pulse. Or sorry, 2.39 billion Pulse and 8.76 billion PulseX in the buy and burn for Unity. And we still have $180,000 in the buy and build for Unity as well, with 1.45 billion Pulse and 6 billion PulseX. So this is all going to make it into the liquidity pool at some point as well. And it'll be very interesting to see what the market does now that it is kind of seeing some sort of a game plan that may exist for these protocols. So again, I think that's really all I had for you guys today. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with day 89, but it really comes down to what you guys are seeing now. And I want to know from you what you're curious about, what your thoughts are after seeing the buy and build tick up. If you have questions about the buy and burn, if you have questions about the reflexivity of the system, I really want to hear about that. So I'm going to start inviting a few more people up. And yeah, I want to hear from you guys now. I've rambled for about 45 minutes, and I would love to not ramble any longer. Let me invite a few guys and gals. And like I said, I tried to tell you guys, these contracts are going to be used. I don't want people, like the whole purpose of TORUS was to be something different, was to learn from all the different mistakes, all the different decisions, all the different, economic decisions, whether it was like tokenomics or from a founder's perspective, and to learn from those to create a new precedent with both TORUS and UNITY. I said that from the beginning. I also said when these contracts get turned up, not if, right? The value that's given to this system in terms of TitanX, ETH, Pulse, or PulseX, depending on which protocol you're in, is for the benefit of the protocols, not for a rainy day, right? And there are different contexts when increasing or decreasing is appropriate, but the funds are there to make the system work better and to give that value back to also all of the users, not just to make the protocol, look better in the future, because the protocol is only as good. I mean, the protocol is designed for the users, right? It's designed for everyone using it. So if people are not actually benefiting from it, what do the numbers mean? Nothing. Not in my opinion anyway. So anyways, Penny, good to have you. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing, bro? Just want to say thanks for holding the space and continuing your engagement with the community and all that. So kudos to you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just kind of want to give my analyzation on TORUS so far. I think it's really dope, man. One thing I think with just the TitanX community specifically, I think there's a lot of PTSD of these protocols that come in, everyone participates, the buy and burn fills up, and the price tanks when inflation comes out. And so what I'm seeing with TORUS is really interesting because, yeah, we have inflation that's came out. Obviously, the prices dropped. But the amount in the buy and burn has stayed pretty consistent throughout the whole journey. And it has a lot to do with staking because of how you set the staking up, there's finally a protocol that you can make substantial ROI when prices are at its lows. So it creates this incentive to keep pouring in more Titan X and ETH into the protocol when the price is at its low. It's really fascinating to see how it was built and to see how this could potentially be sustainable, not even just through like when markets are, high and liquidity is coming into the system, but imagine something like this even in a bear market. Imagine the type of accumulation that you could have even staking when prices are really low and this sector is depressed and liquidity is pulling out of it. It really creates a lot of opportunities, and I'm really excited to see how this evolves and to track the journey and to be a participant. So kudos, bro.
I appreciate that, man. Thanks. It's cool to see, even from my perspective too, designing this one way and then seeing it actually work in real time is pretty special. But I'm curious, when you came into the protocol, so like TORUS launches, you have your idea of how this is going. Like, what was your framework on how this might go versus how has it shifted to where it is now? Just, I think it'd be really cool to hear the shift of, what you expected in the beginning, how it's changed over time and where it sits now. I know obviously what you said is obviously where you're currently, but what were you expecting initially when you saw TORUS?
Initially, I personally wanted to participate, to see what happens after the day 88 and to make some money. You know what I mean? Like that's just personally where I stood with it, because what you had designed was very different than a lot of other protocols. So I just didn't know. I didn't understand how powerful the staking mechanics were actually going to be. And so I'll be honest, I shifted from, all right, let me get in. Let me put some economic energy into the protocol. Let me try to make some money, triple, quadruple my Titan X bag, and then play it from here. To where now I'm like, bro, I want to continue to participate. I want to continue to stake. I want to continue to compound my TORUS to create more TORUS. And I want to play the long game with this, and I say that I say that in a sense of like there's not a lot of other protocols I feel like that anymore. You know what I mean? Because they just haven't proven to be able to sustain participation when the price is at bare bones. They just don't, because there's no incentive. Whereas in this, like, oh wow, there's actually legitimate incentive to still play the game when prices are low. So I think it's really dope, man.
It's freaking cool to hear that, honestly, because yeah. I really wanted this protocol to be something where people can actually understand the long-term premise. And it's not just like, it's through the use of the protocol that people get it versus just like a narrative. That's part of this whole precedent shifting that I wanted to do, this paradigm shift with TORUS is like, and why I said so many times, don't let my words convince you, let the protocol convince you. So it's really cool that, you didn't say like, you convinced me. It's like the protocol actually was the one that showed you how it's going to work over time, what the game actually is. And that actually shifted your perspective, which was, for me, that's as great as it gets, really, because that's how it was designed and what I wanted to occur. And what makes me excited is knowing that this shift is happening this early on. Like, we're not even 6 months in this protocol, and I'm sure you're not alone. I've heard this from many others as well, which is really, really great. And it makes me really confident that in the future, this vision that we talked about where the people get in early, the whales are late, and this is a blue chip in the future, that this is actually something that can go towards that. And, even if we aim to be a blue chip and we become like a B tier blue chip, I mean, that's still sick. If we become a regular go-to protocol that, maybe it's not in contention with like Aave or something huge like that, but man, even if it's a household name that people go to, these conversations and hearing feedback like that really gives me the faith that this can get there. And obviously it's going to take marketing. It's going to take, really building this thing out from the ground up in terms of the community, really getting the narratives right, and continuing to grow as much as possible. But I really do feel that we can do this. And with this bull run coming, I still say that actually I would be curious. Maybe we'll do this a little bit later on in this space once we get the questions out of the way for TORUS and UNITY. But I would like to hear what you're thinking on the macro side, Penny, because I know you're deep in that world as well. And my sense is that we're not even close to started yet. And because of that, these protocols get to prove themselves in the hard times and then really showcase what they can do not long afterwards. Like, we don't have to wait 3 years to see what these protocols can do after they've gone through their a mini bear market to really show what they can do in a bull market. It's kind of the best case scenario where they prove themselves in the hard times, but not through 3 years of it. And then they get to rocket when the bull market actually starts to rip and really make a name for themselves. So, yeah, I don't know if you have any views on the macro and how that'll come into play for both TORUS and UNITY. But I would love to hear that as well. And then Andy, I want to come to you as well. But yeah, Penny, if you have any thoughts on that, how the macro is going to play into this and how it'll play into TORUS proving itself, and UNITY as well, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all comes down to liquidity, right? And how the business cycle is evolving. And what I mean by the business cycle is the PMI and the ISM. It's essentially what gauges like the health of the economy. And like why I think this bull run has been so different, right? You have obviously seen Bitcoin, rip for the last 2.5 years, but altcoins have really struggled. And what we've seen is Bitcoin has attracted liquidity from the M2. So a lot of liquidity has continued to go into Bitcoin, but we've had a very risk off narrative throughout like this last 1.5 years, and it has a lot to do with the Fed. The Fed obviously were cutting rates last fall in Q4 and then stopped, and so they stopped abruptly in January, and then you had the tariff scare. So markets don't like risk, right? And so or markets don't like uncertainty. So it created more uncertainty in the markets. And, that created a red light for risk for macro investors on the macro aspect of things. And so, long story short, I think what we're seeing right now with the Fed pivoting, it's not like they're going to play around with like one rate and see what happens. I'm pretty sure we have officially seen a Fed pivot to where they're going to continue a cutting cycle going into 2026. I think that just even with Trump's plan, with him saying that they're going to run the economy hot. I mean, those are the words out of his mouth. I mean, what that means is they're going to continue to print money. Like, that's just what it is. And so you're seeing a deflationary effect happen as well with AI. AI is like the job numbers are bad because people are losing their jobs because of AI. But what's happening is you're seeing corporations sustain profitability. So it's kind of a perfect storm, because what that does is it makes the Fed have to continue to cut. Because remember, the Fed cuts based off of data, and jobs are their number one priority right now. And so when you have a weakening job market, but you have all-time highs in the S&P, what that does is it makes the Fed need to continue to cut, but we're actually doing pretty good as an economy. And that's going to continue to boost the ISM and the PMI, which is what we need to see to go. We need the ISM data to go over 52 to really be in a bullish environment for risk. We need risk. And so we're trending in that direction. And so my whole take on this bull run, I personally don't think that it's just over in 1 to 2 months. A lot of the four-year cycle people, they think it is. And I understand where they're coming from because of the time frame, but we have to peel back the onion on what has even created the 4-year cycles for crypto in the first place. We only have 12 years of data. Like, that's not a lot of data when it comes to a macro cycle, right? And so what has created the 4-year cycle in crypto? It's been the business cycle. It's been the debt refinance cycle. Remember, central banks have to refinance their debt every 4 years. And so that's what's created this influx and retraction of liquidity every 4 years. And so we're seeing a potential expansion out of 4 years into potential like 4.5 to 5 years when it comes to global liquidity. And so I personally think that this cycle for altcoins might go into, Q1, potentially Q2 of next year. That's just my take though, so I could be wrong. We could peak in the next 3 months and it's the same old thing. But I personally think the data shows that what creates these altcoin cycles is the increased risk and liquidity in the global macro markets, and that's gonna extend this time. And it also comes into treasury bonds. And so I don't know if you guys follow Raoul Pal. He does really good like macro work. And so what they're finding out is instead of a 4-year treasury bond, the Fed had done a 5-year treasury bond in this last cycle. And so the debt refinance for our government is a little different. It's extended this time. So that's my whole macro take. And so I think something like TORUS, with having a potential extended alt season, will absolutely flourish in that environment. So that's my take.
That was sick. I kind of want to designate you like the TORUS macro analyst. Yeah, so you go into so much depth. It's awesome. It's funny too how when it comes to there's two camps, just to touch on the macro stuff for a quick sec. Like I'm more of like I have some stuff that I'm seeing, but I'm also like more tuned into how it feels, and for me, looking at everything, it feels as though we're going to 2026. It's just like, it makes no sense. And also to hear how much data you have that's compiling to push us in 2026 as well, logically, it's kind of cool to hear those two perspectives or two ways of kind of analyzing things. And not to say I'm literally just going off of intuition here. I wouldn't say I'm that capable, but it's freaking cool. Makes me really bullish on what TORUS and UNITY are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, markets peak on euphoria, and that's just how it is. And it's that because all markets are is just human behavior, and humans aren't all of a sudden just behaving differently, like in 2025 than they have the last 4,000 years. So that's kind of what creates cycles as well. It's human nature, and we haven't had euphoria yet because we have a Fed that has restricted a lot of things within our economies, and so it's created a very tightened situation within our economy. So retail doesn't have a lot of extra money yet, and so I think that's why with how the next 6 months, Trump and Scott Bessent, their whole plan is to loosen up the economy, which is giving retail excess money to then put into risk markets, right? And so I think that's when we'll get our euphoria, and that's when we'll see things really top out. I'm not sure about Bitcoin. I don't know personally, but I think that's obviously when we'll see alts run, is the end of this year and going into next year. Personally, that's just my opinion, though. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I have a similar feeling. So we will wait and see. Obviously, it's all we can say, but I'm so curious how this cycle is going to go. And maybe we'll do another macro talk in another space to really hit home a lot of macro data, but we'll bring it back home to TORUS and UNITY now. So Penny, thank you for that. Excellent. I always love hearing your take on macro and how it relates to the crypto world. So appreciate you, man. Appreciate your insights. And Andy, welcome. Good to have you. What's going on?
What's up? Great stuff, man. Appreciate it. Just real quick, is it possible to somewhere put the current levels of the buy and build and buy and burn and the dApps?
Yeah, I don't see why we couldn't do that. Could even do it just in smaller. Yeah, let me think about what would be best in terms of where it would be, where it could be set. Maybe even just below our current cap or swap to his 2 points, 26.44. maybe even just buy and burn setting or buy and build settings or current settings, daily. Let me think about that. But yeah, I could definitely do that. So that's a little bit more obvious. So you guys don't have to literally go to Etherscan, and because you could, if you really wanted to right now, you can go to Etherscan and you can see the settings are at 5% for the buy and build mode. But yeah, I'll talk to my guys and we'll try to get something simple put in there.
Oh, on a side note, one of my creations on Unity is not showing the something. Oh, never mind. It's all cool. Don't worry about it. All right, great job.
All right, thanks, man. Great. So guys and gals, if you're in here, would love to hear from you. We're already at the hour mark, so I'm happy to keep going. If anyone else has anything they want to bring up, I don't know if anything comes to mind for Penny and Andy for you guys, please just start asking away or talking away. We'd love to discuss anything that you're seeing. And I'll say last call for anyone that wants to come up here. Well, not last call, but if anyone wants to come up, would love to have you. Would love to have any questions. It can be simple. It can be complex. Whatever you guys are feeling. So let me just do a little bit more inviting here.
Hey, I just wanted to say that I just realized that there's a portfolio tracker on that DApp. It's really dope. Do you have any plans to like continue to expand on that?
At the moment, I haven't done too much. I've been, to be honest, that was just, I have such a great team that actually my team came to me and was like, hey, do you want a portfolio page? I was like, wait, why didn't I think? Yeah. So it was their doing that was actually the idea to bring it up. But do you have something in mind specific to expand a portfolio page, or what are you thinking? Because I am all ears for how that page or the DApp can be better, get amplified. So yeah, whatever you have.
I mean, not offhand. I just noticed it the other day. I'm like, oh, I really like this. This is dope. So, but yeah, I will look into it and I'll let you know if I come up with anything.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, they absolutely crushed it. Pretty happy with everything that's been done so far. And yeah, these little details are great because, while we are in a point where, if you've noticed, I've kind of cut back the marketing a little bit because there's not a lot of, attention being paid to this space right now in all fronts. There's, a couple things here or there that are getting a little bit of attention, but in our neck of the woods, kind of hard to make some noise and people actually hear it. So getting all these things done, buttoned up, perfected, and really brought to life, so to speak, before we get to that phase. Because when we get to that phase, it's going to be really important for us to have every single advantage that we can, whether it's just, the DApp, narrative, whatever, doesn't matter. Really want that to excel when we get to this phase or the stage where we really need all that to really shine through when everything is really blasting off altogether. So please, if like I've said from the beginning, guys, if you have anything that you'd like to add as suggestions, not everything necessarily is going to be changed, but if it's a great suggestion, we are going to implement it. We've been continuing to do that over and over and over anytime someone's brought something to us. So that being said, Mr. Connor, I see you, man. Welcome. What's up? You speak again. You were a little choppy. I'm not sure if it was just my signal or if it was on your end.
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Hey, bro. If you're, do you want to try leaving and coming back? I'll invite you when you come back. But you're choppy for some reason. Cool. Wait for him to come back. In the meantime, let me see if there's any questions and as well, if you guys don't want to come up but you have questions, go and comment on the post that I made for this space, and you can leave your comments there or your questions, and I am more than happy to answer them in there as well. Let's see what's going on here. Anything else changing in the background while we're waiting? Yeah, it's fun to see with the buy and build now, to see hundreds of dollars getting purchased at a time. Love to see larger numbers. All right, Mr. Martin, come on up here, bro. And he should be up here in just a second. Martin, can you hear me? I'm not sure if he's actually made it up. 1 second, guys. X spaces are always fun. There's always something going weird. Penny, you have your hand up. I'm assuming that was just from before, or do you have anything else that you were thinking?
Oh yeah, my bad. That was from earlier.
Cool. There we go. Loud and clear.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for all those updates to the UI, especially those decimals at progress. Like everybody now knows when the creation stakes ends. So thank you for that. And on that note, when we are speaking about those percentages, where to put them, I would suggest just put them in the brackets just to on the burn page. Buy and burn and buy TORUS with Ethereum, open bracket, current setting 5%, close bracket, and the same buy TORUS with TitanX, open bracket, current setting 5%, and actually current setting is 1% for burn, and for build is 5%. So everybody can check how much is it in percentage and how much is it in values. So that's my suggestion for putting this. And when you are talking about marketing and better GUI, I also have suggestion for snapshot of start and end values, especially with USD. So we have this option to take screenshots, and you can take screenshot when you create and when you after you create from the table of creations, but you could make a screenshot. So when you create, instead you have this pop-up created successfully, then you can take a screenshot, put a button, take a screenshot here, which would put actual values at the moment of your creation or your stake. And when those creation stakes ends, and when you press the button claim, you get another option, claim, and of course take a screenshot of claimed or ended creations, and then you can put those two together. So for example, you invest $100, and after certain amount of days you have the end snapshot. So we could post those, because when you post ROIs, those are like nothing. Especially in crypto, because everybody can put ROIs how much they want. But if you see, okay, so this guy entered with $100 and exit with a value of $120, that means he earned. So those are my suggestions. Sorry, that's it.
That's great. Can you put those into text? Because I think I understood the more so the buy and burn and the buy and build percentage that you're talking about in terms of the formatting. But I was having a little bit of a harder time following with the screenshot. So if you can put that in the chat somewhere so I can visually see it and just see the words so I can actually piece it together, that would be fantastic.
Yes, I will make it.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Because if what you're saying is a great idea, then we're going to use it. And I mean, I know that we've used a lot of your suggestions already. So yeah, I appreciate you chiming in, because everything that you've said so far has been have been great.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying. I have plenty of other questions, but I don't want to take time from other speakers. So if they have other questions, go on with them.
No, go ahead, man. No one else is putting their hand up right now. And I mean, if anyone wants to chime in, go for it and let us know that you have questions. But I think right now it's the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. I'm very happy because first question, how many stakes, like in number, because on Dune we have this delay, it's like 9 hours right now. So how many stakes we have for today, new stakes? How many people staked? Dune says 25 only, but it's 9 hours old.
Let me check. I'm just refreshing it right now. Let's see. Now, currently today, we've had 36.
Is this value big or small to you?
That is, considering all things, I mean, that's like one of the largest days of staking we've ever had. Like the largest day we've ever had is 38. And so today's the second largest staking day ever. So I would say it's pretty large.
Okay, and next question. I have those questions from chat, so I'm like the speaker of the questions from the chat, so they are not all mine. But next question, we have stake TORUS almost 600,000 right now. And we have plenty of liquid TORUS. This means that plenty of people are still waiting. They can sell, they can stake the gain. So I have question for those people, because first question, people are waiting for cheaper staking fees. When those fees can be cheaper, or when those fees can be higher in the USD term values, so they can understand like, okay, is it worth waiting for the next few days to stake, or maybe I should jump in right now?
Yeah. So for the fees, I mean, again, I think a lot of people are, well, here's the thing. I don't want to put words in people's mouths. I don't want to, I don't know what anyone's strategy is that's sitting on the sidelines and holding. Maybe some people are literally just going to hold, you know? Maybe they're waiting for higher prices, but when it comes to staking, if you're planning to stake or pay the staking fees with dry powder, so to speak. So money that is on the side, funds that are not already, you're not going to use your TORUS, you're not going to use your UNITY to pay for it. Those fees are only going to get more expensive per day, but they're going to be, the fees are the same regardless if the TORUS that you have is worth a penny or $1 million, right? Relatively. And so if you are looking to stake and pay with dry powder, you're actually getting the cheapest fees possible today. But if you're looking to use your TORUS or UNITY to pay for the actual staking fee itself, then yes, the longer you wait. So if we have, for TORUS, for example, if the price in Titan terms goes from 500 and some odd thousand all the way up to about 11 million, now you're actually looking at 5% fee relatively. So you basically have to sell about 5% of your stack to pay for that staking fee. If the price goes even higher, right, when the value of TORUS, let's say it goes to 22 million, Titan X to 1, now it's going to be about 2.5% of your relative cost. If the price keeps going higher and higher and higher, now the amount that it costs to stake that TORUS relatively is going down and down and down and down and down, right? So the higher the price, the cheaper the fee. The lower the price, the more expensive the fee, right? And this is really important to understand too, from, maybe a strategic perspective, from, maybe it's best to just wait until the prices are quite high to only sell a tiny bit of your stack so that you preserve the number of tokens that you're getting or that you have to then be able to stake and earn. And this protocol is perpetual, right? So you don't need to necessarily go in right away immediately, because you are going to be able to earn consistently over the years, which is going to help you to grow your position and to get yield and do whatever else that you want to do with this protocol. Who knows what else is coming next, right? Maybe there is more functionality coming down the pipeline as well that can serve that purpose or fill that role for people that want to hold liquid as well. I don't really know if that fully answers the question or not, but I feel like it's the only way I can answer that, unless there's something more specific you want me to go into.
So let's go into the ratio of TORUS to Titan X, because, like you said, people want to sell. So obviously it would be better to sell some, because I think that a lot of people, I saw it on the chat, a lot of people actually are out of dry powder. So they don't have fresh cash. If they have fresh cash, of course, better to stake right now. But if they are out of fresh cash, they have to wait for Torus price to go up. So I think that it will be very hard for Torus price to rise up right now, because there will be plenty of people trying to, okay, for example, right now we have 500,000 price of Torus in Titan X. So some people will be like, okay, 1 million, and then I will sell some portion of my created Torus, and then I will have for the necessary staking fee. The other person will be like, no, I will have to wait to 2 million. And the price, like now, I expect that the price will range for the next, I don't know, maybe week 2. So those who don't enter the stake now, they might have to wait a longer period if they have to sell some of the position for staking fee. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd say it's correct. You know, we might just have to wait a little while to be able to utilize your TORUS or your UNITY, or TORUS specifically right now, to be able to pay for that staking fee if that's the way that you were going to play. Yeah, and it depends, right? Like, because the proposition you were putting out there was we range for a little while, right? And if that's true before we go up, then yeah, it's going to take some time before people are able to leverage higher prices if we do end up ranging. So it could be a week or two, it could be a month, I don't know. It depends too. It could be shorter. Who knows what happens, right? Maybe the market decides it actually wants to start buying TORUS. The price goes up, less people are selling. Who knows, right? This is all these are assumptions that we're just throwing out there. So we'll see. But yeah, if that were to happen, then definitely we would have people that are having to wait for a week or 2 or 3.
But right now, this is the time where we trying to build the actual floor of the for the Torus price, like, so we know the proper range. Like right at this moment, right now, for the next few weeks, we will see like, okay, the Torus price is ranging between those values, so this should stay like a benchmark for the future. And of course, let's hope it will be like going up, so we have some value to refer to. I messed up, but I hope you understand what I mean.
Yeah, I think I do. Yeah, this is an important phase where we are setting the foundation. So it's totally fine if we stay here for a while from a systemic point of view, because the longer we stay down here, if you think about, us staying at this price, we have automatic buy pressure, right? We also have the market. So if we are staying in a range, that means that more tokens are being sold than the buy and burn in the market are gobbling up. And if we do that for long enough, the amount of funds injected in the form of liquidity are going to be tremendous. And that gives us a pretty huge base to work with from a liquidity perspective. And when it comes to, sorry, hold on, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I hate when that happens. Here we go. Right. I came back. At some point, people are going to, or the people that are selling are going to run out of tokens. And when the people that are selling run out of tokens, then we've now built up a substantial base for our liquidity. And the only thing that can happen is for us to slowly start making our way back up. And this is the elastic band analogy that I've been using, where people are pushing on the elastic band when it's getting quite tense, and it can only go so far once it's got a certain amount of tension on it, price-wise, right? This is loading up that elastic band. And as the elastic band, you can think of liquidity and the buy and burn as, adding strength to this elastic band, right? And so as the elastic band is getting stronger and stronger, that tension is being pushed back on the sell pressure. And over time, it's going to want to naturally release that tension back up towards that median point. Doesn't mean it's going to go directly to the median, right? That 11 million, wherever the range is, where creation and staking are flipping one another in their ROIs. But this is going to want to bring us up there. It could take us 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks for that tension to want to release back upwards. It could also take maybe a week or two. It just depends on how the market interacts with the buy contracts and how the macro market is interacting with TORUS and TitanX and all this stuff. So it's a bit of a dance. But you are right. And it can take a while, but we'll see, right? It's just, we're in a very important zone right now.
Okay, on that note, we have some people on chat saying that they want to start create right now, and they are creating. I don't want to judge other people's strategy because I might be wrong, and I know that it's hard for you too, but at least I'd like to warn them because they are starting with negative ROI. So I would expect that creation is not that profitable for at least second and third cycle. But what are your opinion about it? So those people don't get burned, because okay, the market might jump next week, and of course creation can go up, but starting from negative ROIs, they might waste 88 days and end up with negative ROI.
Yeah, and this is a really important question. The easy way to burn yourself is to not look at the shares in the system. When you're making decisions, you typically want to follow, and this is the way the system was designed, right? When you're making a decision, if you're getting less shares via one decision than another, that means you're getting less earning capacity, and the profitability comes from your earning capacity. If you have more shares, you have more earning capacity. If you have less shares, you have less earning capacity. More shares and more earning capacity is more ROI. Less shares, less earning capacity is less ROI. So the DApp is designed to show which actions give you the most shares, right? If you are trying to get clever, the system doesn't let you game it in that way. You can't get ahead of the game by creating what everyone's staking. And I mean, I made the DApp, the team and I made the DApp, made this system in such a way that you can show up and just play dumb, so to speak, and follow the numbers. And that is typically, the best decision at the time when it comes to shares. So if you're creating right now, let me just lay this out in terms of an example here. So let's say I want to show up with $153, right? And I want to create with $153. So right now, up front, I'm going to deposit 1 billion TitanX, and it's worth $153. And that is going to create 93 TORUS. That $153 is creating up front, so this is the principal that I get, $7.80 worth of TORUS. So already that's a loss, right? Now, if I earn what the DApp is saying I can earn, I could potentially bring myself up to $117. So I'm still at a negative 23% loss no matter what. Versus if I go over to, and the big thing here is the shares, right? I'm only getting 721,000 shares. Remember, that's with $153 coming in. So if I go stake, now remember, the staking does have a fee, so you have to take this into consideration as well. So if I go and stake 930 TORUS, right, roughly that's $77 worth, and I have to pay $76 worth. This is going to roughly equal the same amount in total economic energy I'm bringing in, right? Remember, we had 770,000 shares for 150 some odd dollars. For 150 some odd dollar total cost, right? Stake TORUS plus the fee, I now have 7.2 million shares. So I have 10 times the earning capacity for the exact same amount of money coming into the system, right? This is critical to understand. If you are trying to play these weird games, you can burn yourself. The system is designed to just show you, hello, this is the simplest way to earn. This is the best way to earn. Follow those numbers and you're typically going to come out ahead. Now there's times where, you could potentially be strategic, but it's pretty rare, honestly. I think that's more to do with laddering and playing the market versus the share game. But if you're always looking to earn the most amount of tokens, following the shares is going to be the way to go, right? Earning the most amount of tokens is like kind of your cushion for how much price can drop with you still being profitable or break even. Okay. So please don't get too creative when it comes to the creating and the staking, because it's just so easy to burn yourself. So I'm sure that was probably more than I needed to say on that, but it's really important for people to understand between the creating and the staking.
Yeah, so basically they must understand what they are doing if they want to go against the system, what the system is showing them.
Yep.
Okay, another question. Let's assume that we don't have a bull market this year, because I expect that it might happen this year, it might happen in the first quarter next year. So we will be in this stagnant situation like we are right now. For how long those values that we have accumulated right now will last? Like for the next for the second and third cycle, I expect that all those values that we accumulated, like buy and burn, buy and build, and fractal, they should last at least for the second and third cycle, which would get us into the first quarter of the next year, when I expect bull market, and then things like can get heated up again. But what about the stagnant period? Let's assume that yes, we don't have bull market this year, and it like the system have enough economic strength to sustain itself for the second and third cycle, as I understand it, right? So this is just to assure people that yes, we can wait, no worries, and so on.
Oh yeah, so this is a great question, and it's a pretty easy answer, because if you go look at the buy and burn stats right now, it's clear that the buy and build is trying to be spent faster, right? So we can build the liquidity. I've been pretty open about that. But if you look at the buy and burn, we're sitting at $117,000, so $118,000 in ETH, 26.4 ETH, and just shy of $1 trillion Titan X that's sitting in the buy and burn. But if you go click the button that says a fractal, you'll notice we have an extra 80 grand in ETH, so another 17.8 ETH, and another 737 billion Titan X in the fractal. On day 110, all of those funds are going to get put into the buy and burn. And that means we're going to have, like, I think if I do rough math, around $400,000, around $500,000-ish, $500,000 of economic energy sitting in the buy and burns by day 110. I mean, we've already done 90 days, and we still have $143,000 in Titan X and $117,000 in ETH, and we've spent 19 ETH and 749 billion Titan X of that so far. So we are going to have more than enough economic energy, even at the minimum settings, to sustain us without any economic energy coming in. And remember that if we're in our staking zone, people must deposit Titan X, right? And so even if it's small, right, at the lowest settings that these contracts can be set at, they're spending like $1,100 a day, right? $1,400 a day. And if we're bringing in Titan X the whole time, we could easily see these numbers sustain themselves while we are in the midst of our staking zone to preserve the buy and burns into Q1, Q2 of 2026. If that does end up being when the bull run really does start to kick off.
Okay, so yeah, I think that everybody who feels bearish should be reassured about it. I saw those values and I was like, for how long will those last? But I'm pretty sure they will last at least for second and third cycle. Okay, that's it. I don't want to take any more time. Thank you for all what you do, and all those updates to you and entire team.
My pleasure, man. And if you have more questions, hey, I'm happy to keep answering them. I don't know if Penny or Andy have anything else they want to chime in. If not, feel your boots, man. I mean, this is why we got these spaces, so that we can hang out and ask all the questions and anything that is relevant is, important to talk about. The more answers, more questions that can be answered in these spaces, the more that everyone can feel reassured of what's happening.
Anybody else want to jump in right now, guys?
Hey, graphics. What's the breakdown for the fractal? Like what's the percentage that pours into that?
So yeah, 28% of whatever's aimed is sent to the buy and burn is distributed to the fractal. Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, it's just that. And a reminder right now, guys, on that note, that the settings for the system are as follows. 28% of the funds go to the buy and build. 64% of the funds go to the buy and burn. Right? So basically a quarter of that 64% is going to the fractal right now. But if you go to the white paper, remember, phase 1 is focused on liquidity, meaning phase 1 is the highest that the buy and build will ever be set at 28%. When we get to phase 2, we're going to see the buy and build be switched to 8% and the buy and burn be switched back up to 84%, which means that the funds are going to be more directed by, about almost 50%, 40 some odd percent to the buy and burn, meaning the buy and burn is going to get more impactful when more funds are coming in via staking. And we're going to have a more concentrated flow of Titan and ETH directed at deleting the supply. And so the fractal is going to build up even faster into the future. It's 40% diluted right now. Think about it. I guess you could think about it like that compared to what it will be in the future.
And are these phases just purely based off of discretion, or do you have like a day kind of date for that, or is it just purely based off of like market conditions?
It's a discretionary thing. And simultaneously, I have a goal, but it's kind of rough because, I mean, if you have a goal, let's say you I want 2 trillion Titan X in liquidity, that might not be feasible and we might never get there if, the market just, if participation is just low for a while, and it could really dilute, just how impactful the buy and burn can be potentially. So right now what I'm looking at is, okay, how much Titan X can we get in this protocol at our lows here? And then as this system scales, let's say we have, let's say we got all the Titan X that is in the buy and build into liquidity right now. So we have 197 billion, let's call it 200 billion Titan X in liquidity at these prices. Okay. So then we go over to the buy and build and let's look at, we've got another 649 billion Titan X. So let's bring us up to 200 or 850 billion. And let's say we have literally 75% of 650. So let's go 650 times 0.75. So another 487 billion. So we would bring ourselves up to 1.2 trillion Titan X at the lows, which means that if we were to see ourselves move up to, let's say, around the 3 million ratio, Titan X to TORUS, now we're going to have 2.4 trillion. And so that's actually quite good, right? Now, if we see that ratio continue to move up, let's say now it'll go to 6 million, right? It'll go to 12 million to 1. Now we're sitting at 4.8 trillion. So that's actually fantastic. So realistically, when we get to these buy and builds fully scaling in, we could be actually good. And it may actually happen sooner than later. I just want to see how participation goes. If it's quiet, I want to feel out this process of putting these funds from the buy and build into liquidity now and seeing, are we going lower? Are we going higher? How is everything scaling, or how is everything growing at these levels? And at what levels do things actually scale in properly? And how will they scale as we move up over the weeks and months ahead. So we're pretty close, I would say, to a good point where things can switch over to phase 2, because once we have the funds, we have them, and they just need to be scaled in. I just want to be sure that we are bang on with the right scaling metrics before things are completely switched over. So that way there doesn't have to be like, oh, we're at 84% and for some reason we have to switch back, right? I would rather just be one and done, be over or be sure, and then flip the switch over to 84 and 8, and then we just sail off in the sunset with those numbers.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah, and for people that are wondering where I'm pulling these numbers from, when I'm pulling these numbers, saying like 1.2 trillion, then 2.4, then 4.8, maybe we'll do a liquidity talk at some point, but when you double the amount of liquidity on, let's say, the Titan X side, meaning people are buying that amount of TORUS, where the amount of Titan X in the pool is doubled, right? Because when you're buying TORUS, you're depositing Titan X in there to swap and take out TORUS, pushing up the price of TORUS. When you double the amount of Titan X in the pool, let's say it's 1.2 trillion, you double that, you put a 1.2 trillion Titan X in there, you actually 4x the price because of the nature of how liquidity works, right? So when I'm doing these numbers, it's thinking like that. So, okay, we're at 5 million or 500,000, 530,000 Titan X to TORUS. So if we double the amount of liquidity, then we go to 3 million. We double the amount of liquidity on the Titan X side again, we go to 12 million, because we are, or sorry, I guess it would be, yeah, we're going to 12 million because we're 4xing the price of TORUS again, so bringing us to 16x up. So anyways, not going to go too much in the weeds there, but just to kind of plant some seeds on how that works. Yeah, that's really it. So thanks for that one. I don't know if anyone has any follow-up questions on that, or Martin, you have another question, because I know you got a long list there, or Andy, if you have something as well, but go for it. Whoever wants to chime in.
About the fractal, all those amounts will be released on day 110 at once. The fractal will go to 0 and start building again?
Correct. Yep. It just deposits everything into the buy and burn, and then it starts building up from 0.
Okay, and how long do you plan to have this setting for buy and build at 5%? You will adjust, you will keep adjusting it, or how long?
Well, I mean, I would like to just get the liquidity built, so I think there's more or less, I would like to see a steady stream instead of it being just like an all at once maneuver, kind of keeping the flow of funds, regular. That might mean increasing it to keep, the amount of funds going into the protocol's liquidity static. We'll see, because the one thing I want to make sure people are understanding that market conditions, participation, selling, all that stuff can cause increases or decreases, right? If for some reason the market decides it wants to buy the hell out of TORUS, let's say it goes up 5-6x, maybe it's appropriate to back off a little bit on the buy and build so that we can see if there's a reaction from any sell pressure to bring the price back down. Because the lower that we get the liquidity depth increase to a max is really one of the most beneficial things that we can have. So don't want to have the buy and build running so hot that it's it's pushing up the price too quickly to kind of mitigate or undermine the intent. But you also don't want to have things, going too fast or too slow. It's a delicate balance. So that's the intent. And there is the potential for changes to be made based on what is happening in the market as well. But that's kind of where things are headed right now. So it will likely take some weeks before those funds are used, but those are going to be used primarily before the buy and burn, really gets put into high gear, if it does.
Okay, so for those people who don't understand, this buy and build basically builds our liquidity, and if they want to sell later, because we had those comments a lot on chat, like liquidity is not enough, I cannot sell. So for example, in few weeks, they should be able to sell all the TORUS they want, because liquidity will be big enough, right?
Yeah, it'll create stability in the market. So larger players or smaller players will have an easier time entering or exiting, and it'll allow the system to be much more stable.
Okay, and when is the time to like marketing, start promoting TORUS and UNITY? Because yes, right now markets are stagnant. I see it in every group I am. It's so boring that like admins are the only one talking and creators, developers, because everything is dead right now. Like people are so bored with the market, no price action, yes. Especially PulseChain and all those other smaller chains. Like people are so bored, so like making anything right now, it doesn't make any sense. But there is a point in TORUS and UNITY when those systems like start showing their strength, and there will be a point that even with stagnant market, it's good time to start promoting them. Like people will be, okay, nothing is going on the market, but TORUS, UNITY, okay, those systems still climbing up. So like when do you think this time will come?
Yeah, a lot of how I've been operating on this front has been a combination of feel and strategy. So I know the type of content and I know how to word things, create videos, really push out what we're doing here. And what I'm using feel for when it's most appropriate. Now, you hit on something really important with TORUS, which is and Unity, but there's this middle ground. Like, it was really easy to promote TORUS and Unity when obviously the beginning phases were going up, and like we saw Unity going to like $20 some odd. It's like, all right, we're just going to milk this, right? But it gets a little bit more difficult, because obviously when people see red candles, no matter how you spin it, people are going to spin it back at you, be like, oh, I told you so. It's going down, down, down forever. And so it's just like you're kind of fighting a headwind. And people genuinely take a back seat. Like I noticed, especially with Unity, there were some bigger names that were paying attention and that were making some commentary on what was happening with Unity. And as soon as the red candle started, it was like they went silent. So it's like, okay. And we saw that with TORUS too. So we're now getting to the phase for TORUS where we're making things happen. We're allowing the protocol to show its strength and to show what it's really made of. And over the next few weeks, it's going to really, I think, be able to showcase really what it can do, even in going through its most difficult times, which is the most sell pressure, most inflation, least amount of users, all this stuff. And once we have those similar conditions like we saw in the initial phase of TORUS and UNITY, where there's just like so much happening and so much to talk about that can really get people excited again, that's when we can start to ramp things up a little bit more. And simultaneously, when there is, let's say there's a new thing being added, a really, really important thing that's coming, that will also be another cue. When the market starts to any signs that we're headed towards, bullish times ahead, let's say for ETH, where the market's picking up, where people are starting to get excited. Like if I hear people in real life talking about crypto again, it's like, okay, I think we need to start talking about this. So there's a lot of different elements to this, but a lot of it will be by feel and also with what is happening within the TORUS and UNITY systems that are extremely and undeniably bullish. Metrics, data points, narratives, events, and so on and so forth. But right now we've kind of been in these stagnant waters where things are unfolding, and we need to allow them to unfold before we put too much time and effort. Because I don't know about you guys, but staring at a screen all day and trying to look for things to talk about out of something that's not really in its phase where it's, great to talk about can be absolutely exhausting. Just being in the space in general when times are hard can be an energy drain too. So it's about managing energy as well and making sure that I'm most effective, that we are most effective at marketing and creating content when there's actually the most to utilize there and our time and energy is the most effective.
Yes, I understand it perfectly. Actually, I am making memes, images, just because I'm bored.
That's awesome. Right on.
Yeah. Okay. So just to summarize, for those people that trying to figure out what to do right now at this point, quick strategies. Just to summarize, so very short, those people that want to buy right now, this is the best time to buy right now at some TORUS and put it into staking, either though the staking fee in USD value feels high for them, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can even look at this as like an accumulation phase as well, right? This can be a fantastic place for people to accumulate shares, because I want people to think about, and just to add into what you're saying, this is a really important distinction that I want to etch into people's minds. Is like, you're not holding just tokens. Yes, they're tokens, 100%. Simultaneously, those tokens always have a share value, a static share value, which means that you are also buying shares. So at these prices, these are the cheapest values that we've ever seen, maybe we'll ever see, I don't know, of these shares, which means you can get the most number of shares you'll ever be able to get, other than being in early on day one and creating, but the most shares you'll ever be able to get on the market, possibly ever. Who knows, right? It's a really, really, really important thing to understand. You don't need to stake the tokens now, but accumulating here is potentially very, very valuable to get a position that, you might not see it, you'd be able to get again via buying on the market. So just to add that into what you're saying, but yes.
Okay, so we also talked that people, if they can't afford staking fee right now, they can hold those tokens, but they can also increase their position by buying TORUS on the market right now and just holding this TORUS in their wallets. So they don't get more shares, but they buy cheap shares, and they can then DCA into staking wherever they can afford the fee, or the price is high enough for them to sell some later, for example. So they can buy cheap TORUS now to sell some later. So they have fee for they created TORUS and they bought TORUS, right?
Correct. And who knows what's coming that could potentially give opportunities for liquid TORUS to generate passive income to potentially pay for some staking fees. Maybe there are things coming, who knows, maybe not, that will allow for that to be utilized when there's a downturn.
Okay, I'm reading between lines, but I won't say anything. Everybody has to read between the lines, guys. So expect something new soon. Okay, so we can buy cheap TORUS on the market. We can hold it in our wallets. We don't have to stake. We can stake. And last thing, there are people that want to get out. They want to sell. And I saw this on chat, you probably too, that others that are long-term believers in the system, they want them gone. So if those people want to sell, basically they can sell whenever they want. They can sell right now and forget about TORUS, or they can just wait for higher prices and warm up to the system, like realize its true potential and maybe possible change their mind and just sell some, for example, so they can take the initials back, but leave everything else, so that they are still in the system and they can earn, right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm out of my questions. Some bullish things at the on the end. So I'm very happy with this space again. Thank you for Cryptographics for everything that you do, and send my regards to the team because you did amazing job. And I already told Scott that TORUS and UNITY UI is like the best I've ever seen. So thank you.
Appreciate that, man. We really do. Yeah, honestly, I am so lucky to have Scott and the team at Build the Tech. They've just been phenomenal. So, and you've given a lot of feedback, and a lot of you have given a lot of great feedback that's helped make it even better. So, yeah, appreciate all that, and I'll pass that along to them. Now, I want to make sure I go to Super Dad here because he's been up and waiting for a little while. And thank you again, Martin, for all the questions. I think everyone's listening back.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, man. Mr. Super Dad, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hey. Hello.
Hello. We can hear you. You've got a little bit of background noise.
It's good to be here. I'm just enjoying the ride. Yesterday I managed to claim on day 88, and then I staked immediately because I'm in it for the long haul. So I'm just enjoying the ride at the moment. But I believe that there are a lot of good things that are coming for TORUS and UNITY, respectively. So yeah, I'm in it for the long haul. So it's good to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate you being here, man. Yeah, you've been here since I think pre-TORUS. So yeah, I really
since day one.
Yep. Oh, I remember. We've had quite a few names that have been here day one that have stuck around, or like you yourself that are in spaces that have been Telegram chats, and man, it's been really great. We have a pretty phenomenally cool community. You know, I've been in a lot of different token communities and a lot of smart groups, a lot of smart communities, and just the commentary and the excitement that you guys all have is pretty fantastic. I feel really lucky to have all of you that are here participating and helping build this and understand and educate and just show up constantly to show support, which is great. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to bring up, but I'm feeling like this is the point where
I just wanted to add on because I will talk from my own experience on the staking side of TORUS, because I realized that for example, I have something like 2,000 TORUS tokens, and then if you stake all of them at once, you can see that the price is a little bit up steep. So it's a little bit steep to can stake all at once. So what I did, I took that 2,000 tokens. I divided them by like 500, so that at least I can put in multiple stakings. So it becomes a little bit of affordable. Or you can even do it 200 tokens, so that at least the gas fees for staking, they are not a little bit steep. Because we don't know the future price of when we want to claim after maybe day 88 of your staking, if the price of Titanex will be higher or low or something like that, so that at least when you claim, it can also be affordable when you're staking them in bits and pieces. You understand? So that's what I wanted to share with the entire group, so that they must not be afraid to stake if they want to stake. They can just divide their staking in bits and pieces. It will be definitely affordable for them. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. Sure, someone's going to find that very valuable. Great. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm going to cut this space down, or shut the space down now. We've been going for 2 hours, which is amazing. You know, it's always great hanging with you guys, and it's cool to see 20, 30, 40 people here. Still 2 hours in. So it's awesome. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't already, guys, make sure you repost this space. Make sure you're following the TORUS account. Make sure you're following Unity. And I will see you guys next Tuesday at the latest. And I'll still be in the Telegrams. If you're not in the Telegrams, come join us in there. We always have great conversations. There's tons of smart people sharing strategies and outlooks into the future and helping people get educated. And you can ask any questions that you have to me personally, as well in the TGs. So go make sure you're hopping in there, t.me/UNITY.win, t.me/TORUS.win, and have a great rest of your day, everyone. We'll see you all in the next space or the next stream very soon. Peace.